With COVID-19 vaccines becoming more widely available to the general public, school districts and universities are discussing whether or not to require proof of vaccination upon returning in the fall. I sat down with a WSU student and a couple of faculty members to gather their opinions on the possibility of a COVID vaccine mandate in WSU's upcoming fall semester.
Honestly, I've been trying to take this virus really seriously. I lost a family member to it. I really think that the vaccination should be mandatory. I know that's a very kind of hard thing to work around. I know a lot of people have their own opinions on it, and I understand some of the hesitancy there.
There's, lots of reasons people might be hesitant to get the vaccine, and some of them are much more legitimate than others.
Professionally, I think it's great, right? I like the idea of students being asked to be vaccinated, or and that all students are vaccinated before coming to campus, and cramming themselves into a classroom with me.
I'm hopeful that there will be some type of policy by the fall, whether it's a requirement or something maybe a little bit softer than that.
Because I'm an intercultural communication professor, I also take this to another level, right? I've got other professor friends and people that look to this as a civil rights issue, right? There are places in this country that are not getting access to the vaccine because of the community that they live in, which has a direct reflection of their race and their economic standing.
I sincerely hope that any students who want the benefits of in-person classes will take vaccination very seriously. And
worry about the students that are not able to get the vaccine. To compromise someone's education that they are paying for because you want them to get a shot and they might not get it when you want them to get it. It's not going to turn out the way that WSU hopes it's going to turn out.
I don't think it really should be that big of a deal.
WSU's Vice President of Marketing and Communications, Phil Weiler, explained to me why the process of a vaccine mandate is tough for WSU to decide to enforce.
The three vaccines that are available here in the United States are still under what's called an emergency use authorization. So they're not technically fully approved by the Centers for Disease Control and the Food and Drug Administration. Most legal experts are going to say, until it receives the sort of official stamp of approval, you probably may be more difficult to be able to mandate vaccine. Because Washington State University is on a semester system and we start earlier, I think some of the other schools were like, oh, if you want to make that decision and potentially take the heat, we'll let you go ahead and do that and we'll just follow suit. I think most universities actually around the country are looking seriously at some form of a mandate.
In the U.S., there are already more than 70 colleges and universities that have confirmed they are requiring the COVID vaccine for next school year. Some of that list include the University of Portland, Stanford, Notre Dame, and Seattle University.
And so we are pushing really aggressively to try and encourage all of our students to get vaccinated, especially for those students who are currently living in Pullman and might be heading home, wherever home might be for them at the end of the semester. Really, really, really critical that those students get at least one shot before they leave Pullman and go back to wherever they live. Ideally, students will have enough time to get their primer, their first shot, and their second shot, the booster.
On March 29th, Cougar Health Services announced their plan to give eligible students both doses of the Pfizer vaccine. Their appointment dates were scheduled in pairs throughout the end of March and entire month of April, one for the primer vaccine and another for the booster. Their last primer vaccine clinic on April 30th is available by appointment only. WSU plans to go hybrid for the upcoming summer and fall semesters. While most students and faculty are eager to be in person for classes again, everyone's curiosity of what the protocols will look like is currently still being decided.
I'm really curious as to see how WazU is going to dictate which classes in person and how many people they're going to allow in to those classes.
So I have classrooms scheduled, but there are still a ton of questions left about where classes are going to be held, how many students are going to be allowed in the room at any given time.
We've taken COM 105 and broken it down into multiple sections. And so I'm not teaching a class that has more than 100 students in it.
And I know for some of my classes, for instance, they're typically held in labs. And at this point, some of the ones that are typically held in labs with computers will probably not be held in labs with computers. So that brings up a lot of other questions and does make things a lot harder for me as an instructor because there's lots of ways that I can rearrange our curriculum or have the same learning outcomes, whether we have a lab or not. But it's not ideal to be like making that up week by week or like 2 weeks before the semester starts. So being able to plan earlier is definitely helpful for instructors.
Our intent is that classes will be predominantly in person. The cutoff, if you will, is if you're in a class that has 100 or more students, that's when we would probably do some sort of a hybrid. In K through 12, I think in a lot of cases, students are able to be 3 feet apart instead of 6 feet apart. We want to see if that guidance is going to apply to colleges and universities as well. I expect we will still be wearing masks.
WSU's hybrid plan means that students who are taking a class next fall semester will more than likely have at least one in-person class. So if one of your classes takes place in a lecture hall just like this one, this is what you can expect it to look like. Not every seat will be filled, and social distance of at least 3 feet as well as masks will be required. WSU is expected to make a final decision on fall semester vaccination over the summer. I'm Asia Farrington with Murrow News 8.